Hambini fans, and welcome to another episode of the Shower of Shit Show, representing China, all the way from Xiamen, ProX or ProX, I'm not sure how this is pronounced, wheels. Now before we go any further, I will say if you're going to buy a set of budget wheels, certainly put these on a shopping list, because I was quite pleasantly surprised at what turned up. Now, normally, what happens is people send wheels or whatever and want some sort of agreement signing, all of which I never sign. They still send the wheels anyway. They run the risk of it all ending in tears, a bit like the Ascent Polaris or the KPS cycling wheels, which both had me on the fucking deck. This one was a bit different. They sent the wheels really just quite casually really and said, look, these are an affordable set of wheels, can you review them? Be completely brutally honest. So that's what I'm going to do today.
They are 26mm wide, there or thereabouts. They are the same front and rear. They're quoted as 19mm, but I've got 18mm on both. Rear wheel is 869, 870 grams. And the front wheel is 708 grams. Depth is 38-ish millimeters. Going from the outer edge of the rim towards the centre, it's got this, which is the brake track that has the little grooves machined into it. That really does help braking performance. When you have wheels that don't have it versus having it, the difference, especially in the wet, is like night and day. The nipples are about 5 or 6 millimeters showing, and then you've got some straight bladed steel spokes all the way through to the hub. The axle disassembly of the rear goes in this sequence. So first thing is you pull off this end cap, and then that reveals a 15mm axle. The free hub has got a few bite marks in the side of it from just basically the cassette going on. It's also quite a deep threaded section, so the chance of you stripping it if you use an extended lock nut is quite slim. It just comes off like that. And then that reveals your 6 poles inside the free hub. They are captive because there's like a plastic disc that goes around there. The bearing is a non-ISO size bearing, so bear that in mind if you're thinking of getting this to upgrade the bearings on it. The free hub has been fairly unproblematic. The only comment I would make is this seal here is quite loose. So it reduces your friction, especially when you're freewheeling, but you need to keep it well lubricated. Inside here, you've got the teeth to engage to give you the ratchet mechanism. The bearing between there and here is identical. They're both 15267. The fits on here are actually very good, so bear that in mind. It may be budget priced wheel set, but the fit between the axle and the bearings is excellent. On the non-drive side, I've loosened this cap off already because it's quite stiff to get off. We've got the cap and then the bearing. Now the bearing sits very close to the edge of the flange assembly. That's advantageous from a stiffness perspective, but you haven't got much in the way of a seal between there and the actual primary seal of the bearing. It's got cross pattern lacing on both sides of the spokes. The flange is quite narrow by modern standards. Aerodynamically, it's a bit disadvantaged because it's only 38 millimeters deep, but you can see it's got a fairly decent alpha critical angle given the compact dimensions. It's not blunt edged by any means. Despite it being a budget wheel, none of these spokes are twisted. They're all in line. And they're flat bladed.
It is that time of the show again. It is time to see if the pen is working. So, ladies and gentlemen, transvestites, transsexuals, and everyone else who I have not covered, it is time for PowerPoint. And in today's PowerPoint, I've been very original with the title. I've called it ProX Wheels with a Z, or Z if you are American. By Hambini, aged 5. Remember, check out that merch. It is the shizzle. You can check me out at hambini.com, and I also have a Patreon site, which I will link below. and I'm also on Crapstagram, or Shitstagram if you want to call it that. Right, who are ProX? Well, you might not have heard of ProX or ProX, but they have a partnership with LightCarbon. So LightCarbon supply the frames and ProX supply the wheel rims. And that's, you know, where they are. If I show you a quick... This is the ProX website, and these are actually the wheels. So the ProX 98DB, if you click on that, you get all of this stuff. Now, the thing to take away from this, if I just go back to the previous page, is check out the price. So at the time I did this video, it is around $380 max per pair. You're not really going to get wheels at that value pretty much anywhere for carbon of this type. This is the full spec sheet. You can look through all of that. I think the emphasis here is they've emphasised the things as affordable rather than any technical, you know, superiority. It's just affordable. There's all this. You can choose 28mm wide wheels if you want, or 25, which is the ones I have, and also the rim profiles that go with it. Got all this stuff about how they're made, pillar spokes, warranty policy, and there's 2 YouTube videos that you can also watch. These wheels are 38mm deep, 1500 grams there or thereabouts. I'm not really going to fuss over that. Externals around 25mm. The front and the rear are the same, so they're identical. The rim brake, you can get them in disc as well. Tubeless compatible, 18mm rim width, internal width, pillar spokes, and it comes with all the skewers, tapes, and all that kind of stuff. Right, these are the rim profiles that you can choose from. Now, what I would suggest is, if you are going to buy these, this is more of a training wheel rather than an out-and-out race wheel, if you ask me. If you are going for the race type, you are much better off getting a longer cord length. So the cord length, we would say, aerodynamically, is if I draw on there, I'm just using this as an example, the cord length is the distance from there to there. So get the deeper wheel. What you want to try and avoid is an intermediate bump like this. So that's one you want to try and avoid. You see, this one's much better, but again, it's a 28mm wheel, so you will lose a bit aerodynamically, and there's also the issue that it may not fit your wheel hubs. Sorry, your wheel brakes. Right, build quality. The spoke flats were all in line. I couldn't really ask for any more than that. And the tension across the entire rim was fairly even. I think it was within 5% when I checked it. You can find all those numbers on my website. Right, the internals. The internals of the rim. Now, the rim is very, very thick. And that's why it's heavy. It's extremely unlikely to break compared to the others. It's seriously thick. And it's, you know, the insides of it are well made. There's no real, you know, issues there. It all looks very, very clean. There's no sort of tenting or any of that. I mean, I've just taken some shots there, but yeah, on the whole, I mean, it's very clean. Even where the nipples come through, there absolutely nothing on them. Can't really say any more than that. Right, the hubs and the bearings specifically, they're all N7 fits, so they are not as good as, you know, some other hubs, but you're not paying the price of that. I mean, some of them are N5, which is, you know, it's like a ground finish, but on the whole, you're not really going to suffer from those at all. The vibration is quite low for the wheels. There's nothing really to write home about. I haven't had more than 1,000 Ks on them. So they're not as well run in as some of the other wheels that I've had. So you may get some problems further down the line. To be honest, the hubs are so cheap and the bearings are so cheap that you could probably just ignore it and just get some new bearings when they fail. One real good aspect of this wheel set is the residual imbalance. So the ProX wheels are basically, the imbalance is in line, bang in line with the valve hole. And it's just over 300 gram millimeters, which the limit value is 610, so you're well under that. Now the wind space might look like it's bad, but it's not. I've just put it on there because people always ask for wind space and file sports as a comparison. So yeah, that's really good. Stability is influenced primarily by the depth of the wheel. So the deeper you make the wheel, the more unstable it becomes, and you can see that by this grey wheel here, which is an 80mm depth section. The limit of stability is 1, let's call it. So beyond that point, that line, the wheel becomes unstable. So you've got a much bigger margin with the ProX wheels, so they go unstable here and return to stable here. I mean, the return to stability is probably irrelevant, but you've got a huge margin versus the 80mm wheel. So you know, that's really quite good. And then the aerodynamic summary. Now, the big problem with having a very shallow depth wheel is it is aerodynamically inefficient. You're better off having a longer cord, but you've seen the huge advantage in terms of crosswind instability or stability. But as a result, this wheel is slightly below average for the depth. There's the formula for it, and that's an empirically derived correlation. I mean, it's not much, it's like 3 watts. Will you feel that? Don't know. Probably not, unless you did back-to-back testing. What you're more likely to feel is the weight. Right, what are the good bits? To your door, including like EU taxes, it will be less than $500, I guess. And that's assuming you're picking the expensive end of the wheels. So if you pick the $380 wheels and then add all the things on and the taxes, it'll be around that price. That is a bit of a steal, if you ask me. The rims are well made. They're thick. They're robust. I mean, I've hammered the wheels. I've gone up curbs and all sorts through potholes. Absolutely hammered them. And they're very, very well made. When you try and squeeze them, you do realise that it's stiff. And then the UT showing much higher thickness than, you know, for example, Elite wheels are quite thin in comparison, but then you've got a reduction in weight. Braking performance is very good because those cuts that are in the brake track, it just stops way, way better. Now, on their website, they quote 30% improvement. I could probably believe that. I mean, the difference is like night and day. The hubs are of decent quality for the price. So you've got, you know, $500 wheels. That's to your door, $500. It's really quite good. And the other thing is the spokes are steel. So at high frequencies, like you're going over little cobbles, the vibration that they dampen out is quite significant. If you want to get a better ride, then this is probably one of the ways to go. The disadvantage is it makes the wheels more flexible. And then I've already mentioned crosswind stability. Right, the bad points, the rims are heavy, so you're going to have a slower time accelerating because you're having to accelerate a bigger rotating mass. The bearings in the hubs are not ISO sized, so you have to take that into mind. And basically, because you've got this very good vibration damping capability, the consequence is at high load, side loads, so you lean the bike over, you can feel the wheel slightly deflect. Now, I probably, because I go through, you know, test loads of wheels, I can feel that. To the average Tom, Dick and Harry, they're probably not going to be able to, but I've mentioned it anyway. Right, so overall, I'd say the wheels are actually very good, and the big driver is the price. You're not really going to get wheels at that sort of level anywhere. The days of, you know, $500 carbon wheels, this is probably it. Questions and comments, please comment below, and then there's all my social media and all that lot. And that brings us to the end of the show. If you did enjoy it, remember to smash that like button. If you didn't, go screw yourself. And as always, keep banging your hairdresser.